Hi, I'm Doug here at Global West, and I'd like to take an opportunity to talk to you about C5, C6 Corvettes. Now, this happens to be from 1997 all the way through 2013. And what we've done is we've built a bushing system and somewhat of a bearing system for the front end to eliminate some of the problems on the C5, C6s. Now, for years, I've had the Corvette community contact us about the problem with those particular years from 97 on up. Now, I happen to own a 2002 Z06, so I know exactly what they're talking about. And what this basically is in the front suspension, when you drive the vehicle and you autocross it, there's a problem with the bushings, and they have a tendency to work themselves out of the control arms. It's been a problem for years, and like I said, Corvette community has contacted us for a long time wanting to know if we were going to do something or develop a product for this particular situation. Well, we have. This particular kit is a KT C56F, and I'm going to explain what we're doing with it here. It happens to be sitting in front of me. These particular units here are for the upper arms, and this is for the lowers. Now, these are the Del-A-Lum bushings. This particular kit changes how the alignment is done on those particular vehicles. So let me explain something. On C5, C6s, the alignment is done with an eccentric on the lower control arm. This is what an eccentric looks like. It's like an offset cam. You can see the bolt here, and then the cam is like I said, it's offset, it's not in the center. So when you rotate this, this shifts the control arm in or out depending on how you rotate it. Well, one of the reasons why it took us a while to figure out how we were going to fix this is because when you run a performance bushing like our Del-A-Lum or a solid type plastic, Del-Run or something of that nature, that particular product does not like to shift. It likes to work in a straight line, up and down only. So when you're running an eccentric on the lower, which is how those cars do your alignment, that's how GM set it up, when you turn this, it can move the front of the control arm out or in, but basically what happens is this is no longer working in the same plane. If this is shifted like this has to be able to tilt here or here. The rubber allows for that. That's why they run a fairly soft durometer. It's only about 60 shore is what it is, so it's really soft, and that's why they move a lot. And that's some of the vibrations that you can feel on the front end, or it's almost like an instability. You know, it's stable, but there's something going on there. And when you drive the car hard, you'll definitely feel it. It's almost like a shudder. And that's what I noticed on my particular vehicle. So what I'm talking to you about here is the bushing itself. So now we're going to a Del-A-Lum bushing, or a bushing that can control that, but it's a straight up and down bushing. So what we had to do was we have the Del-A-Lum, which we've always had, but the problem is how are we going to keep the Del-A-Lum system in the program and yet get the car aligned? And that's where the uppers come in. So in this particular kit, we're changing how you do your alignment. We're locking the lower in so it works in a straight plane, pivots straight up and down, there's no deflection, and yet we can still get the car aligned because we're going to do it through the upper and we're going to do it with shims. And shims is a much better way of aligning your car than an eccentric, because eccentrics can shift. Shims will not. So once your alignment's done with this, you're done. It's not going to shift anymore. So the Del-A-Lum bushing, it's a unique design. This presses into the housing. We have an inner sleeve, we have a steel pin, and we have thrust washers inside and out, referring to the location. An inner thrust, outer thrust, and then we have steel thrust washers. And we've designed this and so that when this is totally assembled, we preset the amount of preload on the bushing through our dimensions. And when you bolt this and torque this down, the control arm does not have any fore and aft movement. The bushings act like a bearing, and the arms go smoothly straight up and down. And we have grease fittings. That's for lubrication. So you're not going to get any squeaks or noises from this as well. It's nice, it's smooth movement. Now, how are we going to get rid of the eccentrics? Because we can't run an eccentric with this style of bushing. Solid bushings of this nature, you can't run an eccentric. Can't do it. So we build these lockout plates. And these lockout plates, like this would be for the center if you wanted to run it in the center for your alignment, or this would shift it out or in if you flipped it around. For autocross, we shift the arms out for negative camber, so we move them out as far as possible. So you use these lockouts, which keeps the control arm in alignment. There's no shift, so everything performs properly. We've eliminated the eccentric. Now, the unique part of it is that this design for this particular upper mount, because the control arm, this is the upper, in order to set your alignment, this has to be able to move like this. It could go in and out, which we could do with shims, but caster is shifted this way or this way, depending on what side of the car you're on and what kind of caster you're looking for. It has to be able to pivot. So we've designed a special, let's see if you can see it here. You can see this movement here. It allows for the pivot. We've kind of built our own bearing system. It's not a spherical bearing like you've seen in other kits. This is similar, but again, it's our own design. And we're running plastic internals. So there's no harshness, there's no squeaks, and as you can see, we got the articulation and the rotation, and we have no bind. And when we ship these out, these are pre-assembled for you, ready to go. And they're fully lubable. They won't squeak. Not to mention, we've designed dust boots to maintain grease internally and keep the dirt out. And that just snaps onto these bushings. And when you see it in the control arm, it's going to look just like this. These are the shims that go on the top. We have different thicknesses. And the other unique thing that we have is that these shafts are offset. I don't know if you can see that. So by rotating the shaft, you can either move the arm in or out, depending on what you want to do. You can shift it so one is further one way than the other to affect caster. Number of things that you can do with your alignment using this type of a shaft. We give you all the hardware also as needed. These are pre-assembled here at the factory. All the preloads are set. All you have to do is literally press it in the control arm. What this will do is this is going to stabilize the front end on a Corvette. We're also designing them for the rear. But for the front end right now, this immediately stabilizes the front end, and you get rid of that shudder, if you will. The car is very stable. Your alignment stays. You can actually drive the vehicle on a rough road or a freeway where it's got a lot of road irregularities and the car doesn't follow it. It actually tracks straight because the bushings aren't moving. The stock control arm bushings on these particular vehicles are moving a lot, and your alignment's constantly changing as you drive down the road. This particular kit, again, KT C56F. We've got a couple more videos showing you how to install this. We're also going to show you how to install it on a vehicle and how we do the alignment. So check us out at globalwest.net or on our YouTube channel. Look for the kit KT C56F and see what we're doing.